Packed my fiancée's things and planned to end our engagement after discovering she never wants to share a last name. A few weeks ago my fiancée, 27F, and I, 28 male, were talking about our wedding, which is scheduled for June of next year, and our honeymoon. At one point I jokingly said something to the effect of "we'll see about that, future Mrs., my last name," and she visibly cringed. She told me she isn't going to be Mrs., my last name, and I said okay, then I'll be Mr., her last name, because I don't really care if she takes my name or I take hers. I just want to share one. She said no, I'm keeping my name and you can keep yours. I asked who our future kids would be named after. She said her because she's the mother. So I'd be the odd one out. Edit to add, I should have clarified this, but she's also opposed to hyphenating. She's adamant we should each keep our own last names and any future kids will only have hers. For context, I grew up in foster care after both my parents died. I didn't have any other biological family, so I was bounced around from home to home from the ages of 5 to 18, when I aged out. I never felt welcome in any of those foster homes and never felt like I had a real family. I always swore I'd have a real family one day though. So naturally I want to share a last name with my wife and our kids. I truly don't care what name. Mine, hers, a new one we both choose, it doesn't matter to me. I just want a real family that I feel connected to. We've been dating for 3 years and engaged for almost 5 months, and this is the first time she's said she doesn't want to share a name. Previously she never said anything when I called her the future Mrs., my last name, so either this is new or she's been holding it in. I've tried to talk to her about why she doesn't want either of us to change our last name, but she doesn't want to discuss it further and I'm at a loss as to what to do. Would it be an overreaction to break up over this since she won't talk to me about her reasons? She's acting like everything is normal, so I don't know what to think. Edit, this post got a lot more comments than I expected. Thank you to all who replied or sent PMs, except those who called me a misogynist for even suggesting she change her name. I've decided to try to have one more serious conversation with her about my feelings on the subject. I've packed a box with all the things she's left in my house, so if it doesn't go well, I'll return her belongings and end things. We're meeting at a park and I have a good friend who is going to stay nearby but unseen, just in case things go south. If for no other reason than to have a witness that I tried everything I could to talk things out. Update 1. We met up at a park today. I asked her late last night if she could meet me to talk about something, and she immediately agreed because it seems she thought it was about the wedding. My friend was with me, but waited in my car so he wouldn't be spotted. But I did decide to turn on the voice recorder on my phone because in the past she's manipulated her telling of certain situations to make it seem like she's blameless. I overlooked it before, because I thought she was just used to getting her way. Now I realized that was a mistake on my part, so I got there early and walked around for a few minutes before meeting up with her in a picnic area. I asked her to sit down with me because I needed to ask her some very important questions about our future. I told her I needed answers and I needed her to give me enough respect as a human to not walk away when I'm trying to talk. I started by explaining again how I've never felt like I was part of a real family, not since I lost my parents anyway, and how important it is to me that I feel that connection to my wife and kids. It may seem like a small thing to most, but to me it's huge. I've lived most of my life feeling like I'm completely alone. She told me she knows how hard my life has been and now I have her, so I'm not alone anymore. Then I asked her if she could please explain to me exactly why she is so vehemently against us having the same last name, if she acknowledges that she knows how important it is to me that I share a name with my wife and kids so I feel like I'm in a real family and not an outsider. I reminded her that I don't expect her to take my name, and I'm more than willing to take hers, hyphenate, or come up with something completely different. I just want to share a name with my wife and kids so we're all one family unit. Her response to that was surprising. She rolled her eyes and told me it's so cringy when people have the same last name after they get married. That was her sole reason for us not sharing a name. I asked her to elaborate on that. She went into a whole rant about how she thinks it's cheesy when she meets a couple and they introduce themselves as the S and that it makes her want to throw up when she hears it, and so many other ways it makes her angry. When I brought up the fact that her parents have the same last name because they're married, she said that's different and I wouldn't understand because of being an orphan, which really threw me. Long story short, I let her know that I need some time to myself to really think things over and decide how I want to move forward. I asked her to give me time and I would let her know when I'm ready to talk. She didn't like hearing that, but I told her I needed to leave. So now I'm at home, thinking about everything and wondering how to move on. I know the relationship is over, but I haven't made the breakup official yet. It's going to hurt for a long time, but I know what I need to do for my own mental health. I can compromise on some things, but I can't be with someone who won't also compromise. Her belongings are still packed up and my friend has offered to drop them off once I end things with her. Luckily I live in a gated condo community, so once I take her name off the approved visitors list she won't be able to come to my house. I know she won't react well when I tell her we're over. That's all. I'm going to take some time for myself and try to get over everything. Ending an engagement is tough and I don't wish this heartbreak on anyone. Update 2. I went to work on Monday and my boss could tell I was depressed, so she asked me what was going on. I explained everything I had on my mind and the conversation I had to have over the weekend. She asked me if I wanted a distraction from everything and offered to have me accompany her and her husband, co-owners of the company I work for, on a short trip to meet with some potential clients. I would be working on the project anyway, so she thought it might be good to have me in the meetings, especially if I needed to get out of town. So early Tuesday morning the three of us left for the meetings. We were busy all afternoon and part of the evening, so I wasn't checking my personal cell. At 10 p.m. I saw that I had a lot of missed calls and texts from my fiancée. By a lot I mean over 50 texts and 19 missed calls since that morning. It seems she went to my condo, and when security wouldn't let her in, since I took her off my list of approved visitors, she flipped out. So she started calling and texting me. Then she started trying to contact our mutual friends and her family, none of whom knew where I was either. Her last-ditch effort to get me to answer her was to threaten to call the police and say she hadn't seen me in days and was worried I was suicidal. And when I didn't answer right away, she went through with that plan. The police were allowed to enter the condo community, and when I didn't answer my door they couldn't do anything else and left. This didn't please my fiancée, and she kept calling and texting. When I saw the calls and messages, I sent one text in reply that only said I'm on a work trip until Thursday. Please respect my need for time to think about everything. We will talk when I get home. Then I ignored everything from her for the rest of the week while I was away. Fast forward to Thursday evening, we land back in the city and I drove home, wanting to go to bed and sleep in the next day since I was given the day off. I guess she was lurking nearby because I was told later she tried to follow me into the gate but was stopped by security since she never scanned a parking pass. That's when she started blowing up my phone again. I texted back one more time to tell her to give me space and we would talk later, then showered and went to sleep. By Friday morning I had 73 more texts and 32 missed calls. At that point I knew I had to just end things with her sooner rather than later so I could get some peace. Long story made short, as of yesterday afternoon, I've ended the engagement. I took the same friend who was nearby last weekend, so I'd have a witness in case she did anything. She refuses to give the ring back because she thinks I'll come to my senses soon and she'll keep it until then. I don't even care. She can have it. Her friends and family started calling me within 15 minutes of me ending things. I've blocked them all since they're being nasty to me and blaming me for it all. Judging by what they're saying, it seems like she made up a story about me having a mental health crisis and wanting to be alone. Again, I don't even care. My good friends were told what happened when my friend sent out a text with a brief explanation. I hope she leaves me alone so I can heal from everything over time. I'm just so emotionally exhausted. Update 3. So, after I ended the engagement, I thought for a minute maybe that was it. Things would quiet down. But of course, I underestimated. That weekend, I got a certified letter delivered to my condo complex office, from her. I still don't know if she paid a lawyer for this or just used one of those online templates, but the gist was that she was formally demanding the return of items from my place that had sentimental and material value, her exact words. Which made me laugh, since I literally still had her stuff all carefully packed, untouched since the start of all this. I sent a short, polite email back confirming a date and time when my friend could drop it off. She replied, immediately, with a huge list of ridiculous additional requests. She wanted my apology for public humiliation, she wanted an explanation for her closure, and she even wanted a written commitment that neither I nor any of my friends would malign her reputation to anyone in our friend group, her family, or at our workplaces. The last part is what really got me. Apparently, she'd already started a rumor mill at her job, which is in an overlapping industry to mine, that I'd had some sort of mental breakdown. Several mutual coworkers reached out asking if I was okay, and if the rumors about me checking into a facility were true. It didn't take much detective work to figure out the story originated from her. Now, here's where this next part gets insane. That same Friday afternoon, right after my friend finished dropping off her stuff, I got a rattled call from my building manager. Hey, there's a woman in the parking garage with a clipboard talking to everyone getting off the elevator, asking them about your habits and if you seem unstable. I think it's your ex? She was apparently going door to door, clipboard in hand, telling anyone who'd answer their door that she was conducting a wellness check regarding a danger to the community. Several of my neighbors had zero clue who she was and were understandably freaked out. Security removed her, but by then the gossip in my complex was running rampant. It didn't stop there. Over the next 3 days, my phone and email blew up with everything from fake appointment reminders, all scheduled by her under my name at various local clinics, thanks, spam calls, to a truly wild DM from a complete stranger on Instagram. I pieced out the chain. My ex had started commenting on mutual friends' public posts under completely fake burner accounts, writing stuff like, "I'm so sorry for your loss, prayers for his recovery." One friend, thinking I'd been seriously injured or hospitalized, called my mom's old foster home, which I hadn't lived at in a decade, trying to check on me. Word spread so fast that by Sunday, 3 of my former foster parents had messaged me to let me know I was loved. That's when I realized, with mounting horror, how much havoc she was really willing, and able, to cause. For a single, frankly dumb, disagreement about a last name, my whole life was being upended in almost cinematic fashion. Well, I called my boss, explained the escalating situation, and she let me know that a concerned party, my ex, had called the main office impersonating me and tried to get my direct deposit transferred to her account, saying I was in long-term care. HR flagged it, and luckily nothing went through, But that was the final straw. I called a lawyer and started a paper trail. My lawyer advised a cease and desist, suggested I lock down all accounts, and told me to consider filing for a restraining order if this hit one more off the rails milestone, because the pattern had shifted from breakup drama to actual harassment. Mostly, though, it was the emotional part that blindsided me. People kept calling to check in, convinced I was deeply unstable. Several lifelong friends, taking their cues from my ex, started treating me with kid gloves. One even showed up with a lasagna and a pile of pamphlets from a grief counselor. By Thursday, I started experiencing the first real, unfiltered anger of the whole ordeal. Not at her, not really, I'd already written her off in my mind, but at how quickly and powerfully one person could shape a whole narrative about my life. How much easier it was for everyone to believe something was wrong with me rather than that sometimes people just break up for perfectly rational reasons. I wrote out a simple 2-line post, shared it on my social pages, and put it in a group chat with all my mutual friends. Thanks everyone for your concern. I promise, I'm okay. My ex and I broke off our engagement last week. The rest is just drama. No mental breakdown, no hospital, no danger to the community. Appreciate the support, but please respect my privacy and don't believe rumors. And that, believe it or not, actually started to work. The real friends knew me well enough, the shallow ones dropped off. My boss gave me clearance to work remotely for a week, which was a gift. My lawyer delivered the cease and desist. The security staff at my complex now know both of us by face and name and keep a close watch. The cherry on top, and what makes this truly surreal, is that, as of this morning, I've received a formal letter of apology from my building's HOA, for the distress caused by a non-resident pretending to conduct safety checks. They're reviewing protocols and scheduled a special security meeting for next week. I'm considering whether or not to actually show up and tell the story in person. The upshot, I'm both heartbroken and kind of liberated. I look back at those stupidly painful conversations, worrying about names, desperately clinging to the idea of a real family, and I realize I dodged something much, much bigger than a bad last name debate. To top it all off, last night, as I was sorting through a box of old photos, honestly, to remind myself who I'd been before all of this, I got a message from a woman I'd known in one of my foster homes in my teens. She's in town for work, she remembered I lived in the area, and she wanted to grab a coffee. I said yes. Not because I'm ready to jump back into anything, but because after all this, I'm realizing, family doesn't have to match last names. Support sometimes comes from the places you least expect, and sometimes, it comes from within yourself, after all the chaos dies down. I'm still sorting through my feelings, but for the first time in weeks, I'm more relieved than sad. If anything else wild develops, I'll let you all know, assuming my ex doesn't show up in a disguise at the coffee shop. If so, I promise I'll update. Thanks for reading and for all the support, it's meant far more to me than any last name ever could. Update 4. I'd barely survived the weirdness of the last couple weeks, and honestly, I really thought the ex drama had hit maximum velocity. But apparently I was wrong, because this week took things from movie of the week to Dateline special. Sorry in advance, this is long, but I don't know how to make it shorter and do it justice. First, picking up where I left off, the meetup with my old foster friend, let's call her Abby, was scheduled for last Saturday morning at a busy local cafe. I arrived a little early, nervous but eager for some genuinely supportive company. Abby showed up, big smile, and immediately gave me probably the most sincere hug I'd had in years. We talked over coffee for almost 2 hours. About our shared experiences, the total weirdness of adulthood, and how badly she wanted to give the 16-year-old version of both of us a pep talk. She'd followed some of the recent social media fallout but promised she didn't believe any of it, and her candid, non-judgmental sympathy was exactly what I needed. Here's where things started getting surreal again. Near the end of our conversation, Abby lowered her voice and said, "Look, I hope this isn't paranoid, but some woman was waiting outside when I got here. She asked if I was meeting you and tried to follow me in." I felt my stomach drop. Abby described her, and, yeah, it matched my ex exactly. Apparently my ex had staked out the coffee shop, wearing sunglasses, trying to play it off like she was just making small talk. When Abby ducked inside, my ex hung around outside for a bit and then took off. I checked my phone. 3 texts from an unknown number. "Hope you're doing well. Saw you out today, you look happy." No way to prove it, but the timing was eerie. That same day, my building's security called me again. My ex had come by with a clipboard, again, this time asking to review security footage because there was an incident in the garage involving her property. According to the guard, she claimed she'd lost a meaningful item in my parking spot. Spoiler alert, there was nothing there. Security refused. She apparently threatened to file a police report and left. The next day, things kicked up a notch. My remote work setup at home was interrupted around noon by a sudden barrage of notifications. Someone had tried to hack into my email, my cloud storage, and my work Slack. I got a cascade of password reset requests. IT flagged the login attempts as coming from a location across the city, and, by total chance, a friend happened to spot my ex's car near that area. She drives a super distinctive, bright yellow Honda. Coincidence? I doubt it. That evening, I attended the special HOA security meeting. There were maybe a dozen residents there, plus 2 security supervisors and a rep from the company. Midway through, as we were discussing the recent impersonator, someone tried to join the Zoom session, virtually, using my name. Tech support cut the feed. My building manager later confirmed it was someone using a spoofed IP and my photo from social media. I was half expecting my ex to show up in person, but thankfully that didn't happen. Here's where it truly went off the rails. On Tuesday, a certified letter arrived. Yes, another one. I feel like I'm living in a legal drama. This one wasn't from my ex, though. It was from her newfound lawyer, a real one, not an online template, formally requesting a conciliation session to discuss emotional damages and closure needs. The wording was bizarre. It demanded that I appear in person at a specified location to address defamation, property disputes, and unresolved mental health concerns. It even included a clause proposing that, if I refused, she would escalate matters to HR at my workplace and professional licensing boards. For the record, I don't even have a professional license for my job. I called my lawyer, who assured me I was in the clear and this was harassment, not an actual legal summons. We followed up with another formal cease and desist, and my lawyer filed a police report detailing all the escalation. At this point, my friends went full protective older sibling mode. 2 of them set up a group chat called No More Drama Patrol, where we now coordinate everything from walking my dog to escorting me back from work events. It feels silly, but I'm honestly grateful. Just when I thought it couldn't get any wilder, Wednesday afternoon a local news van showed up outside my condo. A neighbor texted me a photo. My ex was pacing out front, gesturing animatedly, while a dude with a camera filmed her from the sidewalk. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen the pic myself. Shortly after, an intern from the news station called my work line, no idea how she found the number, seeking comment regarding concerns raised about tenant safety in your building following a breakup. My boss handled it perfectly, shutting it down and making it crystal clear this was not a story. By Wednesday night, I was on the edge of exhaustion with a side of surreal humor. My group chat started sending memes. My boss implemented a strict no calls unless scheduled policy for my work line. Security at my condo now has a literal printed sheet of her photo at the desk, and, I'm told, she's banned indefinitely from the building. But, and this is the greatest shock, something shifted for me after all that. Instead of feeling ashamed or defensive, I felt a weird, fierce determination. For the first time since my parents died, I realized how far I've come, survived the system, built a career, surrounded myself with actual friends, and, when push came to shove, stood up for myself, in a really miserable, public way. On Thursday, I met up with Abby again, but this time with several other friends, at her suggestion. Over tacos and laughter, I caught myself thinking, this is what real family feels like. Shared last names have nothing to do with it. So, what now? My lawyer is collecting documentation. The cops are aware and have tagged my ex as not to be allowed on premises. My building's HOA has changed protocols, and I have a support team worthy of a sitcom. I'm exhausted, but in a weird way, proud. I'm not sure what my ex's endgame ever was, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm done letting her shape my story. The more chaos she tries to spin, the more obvious it is to everyone around me where the real instability lies. And, because life has a sense of humor, I got a text today from a former foster sibling I haven't heard from in over a decade, wanting to grab lunch. I said yes, not out of obligation, but because, hell, why not keep finding new family where I can? Update 5. Well, I just have to get all this out, because the past week took everything I thought I understood about broken engagements, stalker exes, and rock bottom, and then parachuted me into an entirely new kind of social purgatory. Buckle up. If you thought the news van was wild, I wish all I was dealing with now was a misplaced microphone. Let's start last Friday afternoon, where I was actually feeling the first hint of normalcy. I'd gotten through an entire remote workday with zero drama, no mystery calls, not a single wellness check or password reset barrage. Abby and a couple more friends swung by with takeout, and we just vegged out on my couch, swapping bad ex stories and cringing at our own dating histories. And then, as my defenses were at their lowest, my group chat, No More Drama Patrol, started blowing up. Apparently, my ex's behavior hadn't gone entirely unnoticed in her own circles, either. Someone, I honestly have no idea who, but I have my guesses, compiled a sprawling, point-by-point Reddit post from her perspective on one of those relationship advice subs. It was pretty clearly her, the details matched, the narrative was spun hard in her direction, emotionally abandoned by a commitment phobe who refused to own his issues with attachment, and she'd even exaggerated the last name, drama into some kind of grand feminist crusade, as if I was a retrograde control freak and her clipboard rampages were noble resistance. For about 36 glorious hours, I watched the comment section transition from OMG, run, to, wait, what? Ma'am, why are you conducting wellness checks at your ex's condo? 2. Miraculously, half the subreddit suspecting her story was fake because the details were too wild. If there was ever a moment in my life when the internet saved my reputation, that was it. Except the spillover into the real world was officially next level. A mutual acquaintance from work saw the Reddit post, pieced together the real names, and texted me, dude. Your ex is internet famous. She's trying to recruit allies. He shared a screenshot from a private group chat organized by her, headline support group for survivors of name-obsessed narcissists. There were 6 people in it, and I recognized 3 as her cousins, 1 as her Mo, and 1 as an acquaintance I haven't seen since a mutual friend's 30th. Here's where my heart nearly stopped. The 6th person was my ex's mom. The same woman I'd awkwardly chatted with at Thanksgiving. That's when I realized the drama was spilling into her family, too. Saturday, I got an email from her mom, who, after opening with, "I never wanted to get in the middle," basically apologized for how overwhelmed her daughter had become. She explained that the family had encouraged her to assert her values, which in their tradition meant keeping the maternal line dominant. Apparently, in their family, the women never changed their surnames, not even for the kids, and this mystique had become a serious point of pride and almost a litmus test for who deserved to enter the family. Her mom admitted with hindsight it was unfair to spring this on me after so many years, and assured me she was taking her daughter to stay with a cousin, for a reset, as she put it. There was a clear undercurrent of embarrassment. I think even her family had realized things had gotten out of control. Saturday evening, while my head was still spinning from that email, I got a knock at the door. It was a local police officer, super apologetic, delivering an official notification. My ex had finally, formally, tried to file a harassment complaint against me for targeted online bullying and the spread of malicious falsehoods. The officer literally rolled his eyes as he explained, "We do have to do a wellness check and get your statement, but off the record, your lawyer's documents, your HOA's notes, and the mountain of evidence against her, this won't go far." Still, just the sight of the badge in my doorway sent a deep, cold punch of anxiety through my stomach. I sat there after he left, fighting the urge to laugh and cry at the same time. Couldn't believe it had come to this. I called my lawyer, who by now must have me on his favorite client speed dial, and brought him up to speed. He recommended we start recording every incident, that, if she escalated again or managed to get another interview with a local outlet, we'd file an official restraining order. It's not all doom and drama, though. That night, Abby texted, "Taco emergency? Star Wars. Bring your dog." I grabbed my rescue mutt, microwave taquitos, Abby's only real cooking specialty, and spent the night immersed in cheap movies and laughter that didn't have a single drop of drama. I'd almost forgotten what actual normal felt like. Sunday morning, a mutual friend, let's call him Dave, called with unexpectedly good news. Her workplace, having gotten wind of all the anonymous tips and wellness concerns, had started inquiring into conflict of interest and improper conduct regarding client data. She was now under internal review for accessing contact info, which explained how she kept finding new ways to reach me and my friends. All signs suggest she's about to be let go. I'd almost say I feel bad, but, honestly, I just feel tired. It's amazing how quickly a storm can burn out. Over the next few days, for the first time in over a month, the digital noise faded. Social media had gotten bored and moved on. The news van never returned. My ex appears to be lying low at her cousin's place, if rumors are to be believed. In the vacuum left behind, a genuine realization set in. Nothing, not breakups, not last names, not even violent cop drama and Reddit infamy, can stop life from quietly rebuilding itself. My old foster friend network keeps growing. Abby and I are planning a road trip next month to visit another former foster sibling in the next state over. My boss, now very aware of my personal resilience, handed me my first big solo project. My dog seems to sense the anxiety has passed, and just sprawls out on my feet every evening. I keep looking at my own last name and laughing at the irony. Family, it turns out, isn't a collection of matching names at all. It's the people still there after the storm, the ones who haul you off the couch for Star Wars, or guard your peace with a taco and a group chat meme war.